friends, how are you doing today? My name is Mary. This is Happily Ever Esch, and today I am doing the leap year book tag. This should be a relatively quick video, but it was a fun tag. I was tagged by Bree over at Call Me After Coffee. Oh yes, and I will link the creators down below, but Melted Books and Amy Myers, I believe, are their channel names. So two different creators, they're linked down below. You should go check out their original videos. All right, so let's just hop on in. Question number 1, an extra day. What is a book that brought a little something extra? And for that, I chose a book that I just recently read this month. Haven't even wrapped it up yet. And oh my goodness, that is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I picked this for this question because this is a very beloved book. It gets a lot of hype, and I think a lot of that hype is surrounding the social issues this book is bringing up, which are obviously extremely important and a huge benefit to reading this book. But that little something extra, the something that I wasn't expecting, was how much love I had for this community and the way that Angie Thomas writes about community and family and what that looks like was amazing. So yes, I think all of those really important issues are in this book, but I also think this book is so much more, and just the character development, the way that Angie Thomas writes about community is wonderful and just an added bonus to this wonderful YA story. Question number 2 is taking a big leap. What is a book that you were afraid to read or are afraid to read on your TBR? And for that, I selected the biggest book that I have given or slotted myself to read in 2020, and that is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. And for none other that this is a chunky classic, and it's just a time commitment, and that is intimidating in and of itself. Also, Charles Dickens has very wordy, a little over the top writing at times, and so that makes me, a little nervous to commit like the 700, 800 pages that this book is. So yes, David Copperfield, but I really hope at the end of 2020 I can have ticked this off my intimidating books list. Question number 3 is every 4 years, what is the 4th book that you completed this year? And handy dandy Goodreads told me that it was The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. This is a short little book, and I actually didn't even start this in 2020. I started at the very end of December in 2019. This is an epistolary novel that is kind of a correspondence between two demons on how to corrupt a human soul. I really enjoyed it, and I kind of knew I was gonna like C.S. Lewis, and I definitely want to read more C.S. Lewis in all the years, the leap years beyond. Question 4, 366 days this year. You're supposed to go to your 3rd shelf and pick the 6th book and then the 6th book after that. So I did that for this shelf that's behind me, which is all my unread books, but then I also did it, I don't know, you can probably see the corner right there for my unread shelf, or for my read shelf. So this is my unread shelf for my read shelf. So I have 4 selections to talk about. So the 3rd shelf, and I did count this top shelf because there's books on it. So this 3rd shelf holds most of my classic books. So the 2 books were actually from the same edition, which is kind of funny because I don't have all of these editions in this section. This is just kind of how it worked out. The first one is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, which is a ghost story mystery novel. I've not read any Wilkie Collins, but I definitely want to, and this is a nice floppy edition, so someday I hope to have read this. And then I also have The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Again, one that I have not read yet. Obviously it was on my unread shelf, but definitely want to. I've not read any Oscar Wilde either. So this is a short one, so a little less intimidating. And I know a lot of people really enjoy Oscar Wilde, and in particular this novel. Okay, and for my read shelf, so my 3rd shelf holds a lot of my read short story collections. So both of these were actually short story collections. The first one that I picked was Tales of Accidental Genius by Simon Van Bowie, which is a set of short story collections. They're realist stories, very much looking at relationships, and the first half I really liked. And then the last half is just one really long short story that wasn't my favorite, but overall really did enjoy this short story collection and would recommend it if you like realist short stories. And the next is a short story collection that I would like to reread. Is one of my favorite short story collections that I've ever read, and that is The Last Animal by Abby Genai. This short story collection, all of the different stories have something to do with animals. And my favorite short story that I've ever read, Silence, is in this collection. Probably talked about both of those books a long time ago when I first started my channel, so kind of fun to revisit some of those. Question number 5 is leaping ahead. Name 4 books that you would like to have read by next leap year. And for that, I'm definitely focusing on my fantasy shelf. I actually only pulled off 3 books, but that's because these are all parts of series, so you can just say another one in the series for my 4th book and we can call it good. But the first one is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, which is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. I put this on my February TBR. Still not convinced that I'm gonna get to it, but we will see. Yes, I would like to read some Brandon Sanderson. This is the one on my shelf, so I would love to have ticked it off, and the whole series, really. Next is Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, which is book 2 of the Farseer trilogy. I have read book 1, and that is it. And if you're at all familiar with Robin Hobb and her fantasy series, she is quite prolific, and there are many books to read. But yes, I would at least like to have finished the Farseer trilogy at the very minimum by the next leap year. And then also this I've actually already read, but I would like to finish the City of Brass, the Devabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. Sorry. Isn't this cover gorgeous? I listened to it on audio last year and I absolutely adored it. So would definitely like to finish this series up. So yes, all the fantasy by the next leap year would be great. Question 6 is Leapfrog. Name a book on your TBR that has some green in it. And again, pulling from my February TBR, because while all these books are to be read, you know, I'm very focused in my TBR because who knows when I'll get to the rest of these. But for my February TBR, The Childfinder by Renee Dinfield. Lovely cover with the green. I'd say blue is the major theme, but you've got some green up here and down here as well. So yes, isn't that just beautiful? Question 7 is Bad Luck. What bookish things do you steer clear from? I would generally say books that are overhyped I try to stay away from. Not forever, but in that moment. I'm definitely someone who makes things way big in my head, and sometimes when I read them I am let down. So I would say, you know, super duper new releases, when they're all the buzz, all the hype, I do tend to stay away from. I also like to see a book ride out its hype wave and hear some reviews and see kind of does it stand the test of time before I jump in. So I don't read a lot of new releases, but I guess I'm trying to think tropes in books, if there's anything that really bothers me. I think I struggle with series. Not that I steer clear from series. Obviously, I've just named a lot that I would like to finish. But when the drama or the conflict seems really contrived, or you know, each book kind of has to be its own plot to wrap it up. But sometimes I think the series arc suffers for that, or when they just force books to be series. It really bothers me when a book has been published for a long time and then all of a sudden they start giving new books. I'm not totally sold on the Hunger Games new books coming out. I was not gonna read The Cursed Child for Harry Potter. I'm kind of just leave it alone, do something else. It always seems more I don't know, it just doesn't seem authentic to me, and that might not be fair, but I tend to not be into that, reading things that have published a long time from like the original canon of the series, if you will. Though I might still read the Hunger Games book just because it doesn't follow the same characters, like same world. I think that's like a little different, but yeah, maybe I steer clear. I don't like it, so I don't usually pick it up. Yeah, those are probably like the biggest things for me, at least off the top of my head. All right, and tag 4 people. I will do that. I will come back to you in a little bit and tag some people because I wasn't good and I didn't look up or think about this before sitting down and doing this. So I will tag some people, but thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned to see who I tag. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you later.